All right. So good evening, everyone. All right, or good afternoon, wherever you are. Okay, I'm so happy to see you guys right here in the healing, a joyful journey to healing the inner child. And today I'll talk about the course that we'll be offering, and maybe also drop some tidbits of the importance of joyfulness in this kind of journey that we are all having. So first, I first I believe that well, naturally healing is easy. I know naturally healing is messy, right? And it doesn't come easy to a lot of people. And in my journey, when I was trying to heal from the abuse that I've experienced growing up, I did not have people around me actually to guide me in my own journey. And so it was very messy. It was like a roller coaster ride. It was more than a roller coaster ride. I think Karen could Karen is a testament to that. All right, that healing for me in my book, Healing the Inner Child, it was such a messy journey. Right, it was a hard journey that I felt I needed to go through to be the person that I am right now and to be the being of light and being of lightness that I want to be. And when we were planning the course, all right, there's something that's missing. Okay, it can't be just healing the inner child. Something is missing in the title, and we have both agreed, right? We found out what missing here is a joyful journey, all right? Because it seems as if there's this connotation attached to the word healing. And people, in a way, do not like the word healing in itself. Um, Particularly when we speak of healing the inner child, a lot of, I think, back stories would come up in your head. And for some, it's not easy. And for many people, actually, I think for most people, it's not easy. And during our conversation, when we found okay, or when we added a joyful journey to healing your inner child, that's when actually things started to open up for us. I think it became lighter. And now, um, we've been very much into access consciousness, and we've been very much also into following the lightness of energy, because we have learned that heaviness, what is heavy, does not belong to us because we are beings of lightness. So I'd like that to sink into you for a while. What is heavy does not belong to us because we are all beings of lightness. And having understood the beauty of that very simple statement, we have been very keen into actually following the light energy that we'd like to follow. So if it's heavy, then it means that it does not belong to me. All right? It means that I can make another choice for myself and I can actually choose the lightness of my being. Because that's who we are, the lightness of being. Okay, we are infinite beings made of light, and it's also light, like a feather, okay, like a feather. Now you see the two canvases I have here. I haven't started painting yet, right? But I'll be actually painting feather there, okay, feathers, to remind me that I'm a lightness. Okay, I'm a lightness of being, and you guys are lightness of beings too. But the challenge is, the stories that you haven't told to anyone, the stories of shame and guilt, maybe the stories of abuse that you've had in the past, okay, maybe the stories of your failed relationships, maybe the stories that you've had with your family that wasn't so good to remember, maybe these stories that you have been keeping for a long time, because whenever you recall these stories, it feels as if you've done something wrong. It feels as if it's taboo to talk about it. It feels as if talking about it could actually just bring out a can of worms, right? It feels like you're opening a can of worms that you are not ready to see. Now, in the book, I realized that I wasn't really opening a can of worms. I was really opening a can of butterflies. That when I finally opened the can that I thought was dirty and shameful and so guilt-inducing, there were butterflies actually. And since we're following lightness now, right? We're following lightness. How can I think one of the questions would be, how can I recall my stories without feeling so heavy? Or is heaviness wrong? Is confronting these stories that I have buried deep inside my mind the wrongness of me? And are these stories even, do I need to really bring up these stories? Now, there's no straight answer to that because we all have our own levels of readiness. It's not easy to talk about those things. Even for myself, okay, when I wrote the book, okay, and I discussed there the abuses that I experienced as a child, leading towards the publication of the book, and I mentioned this to Karen, all right? I also had what I call vulnerability hangover, all right? Am I ready for people to see my story? And I realized that it wasn't about the story anymore, and it wasn't about me anymore. It's about the people who will read the story and what they can get from it. It was quite a struggle actually to talk about it in the past, all right? Whenever I would have my group therapy sessions, all right, whenever I would have my personal psychotherapy sessions, I couldn't really talk about these things without bursting into tears. I can't finish two sentences, right, without really, as in, crying like a baby. You know, I stand 6'1", by the way. Okay, I'm 6 foot one inch tall. So just imagine that. Okay, whenever I would be in my sessions, I would be just like baby crying, right? And in front of the group that I was with, and in front of sometimes my therapists in the past. But now, whenever I recall the stories that I have, there's peace, and there's just so much gratitude. It's not about feeling sorry for myself anymore. Why did it happen? Okay, why does it have to happen to me? It's not about that anymore. It's more of, there's a reason why those things happen to me, and now it's becoming clear and clear and clear to me as I pursue this road to becoming a healer myself, to becoming a light bearer or a torch bearer, however you call it, to becoming an instrument of healing, right? And there's one question that I have contemplated, right? There's one question that I have contemplated that that was hard for me to reconcile. Why me? Right? Why me? Why does it have to happen to me? And I'm pretty sure when you're here, right here, that's also one of your questions, right? If you had experienced difficulties in the past, and I can feel the energy now, right, of some people who are here. Um, Maybe at the back of your head, you're still thinking, "Wow, I can feel the energy of some people who's in the Zoom with us." Maybe your question is, "Why me?" Right? If it happened to you when you were a child, why you? Right? I was mad that time when I was processing my emotion, and all I could think of was, if there was God, at that time when the abuses were happening to me, why did he let it happen to me? And I was in that kind of space. And it's not far that as you listen to me, those are also the very same thoughts that are occurring in your head right now. Why me? Right? My dialogue that time was I was just a child, okay? I could barely read. I could barely identify the things around me. I know I'm a smart child, right? I could I could barely eat using my hands, using fork and spoon. Why me at a very, very young age? And it took me quite some time to find the answer. I know, a lot of people will tell you, there's a reason for everything, but it wasn't easy for me that time. Okay? It wasn't easy for me that time. Okay, people will tell you, diba, there's a reason for everything, you just trust, but, I was pretty stubborn. And now I know why. Because when I experienced it, and I was sort of processing myself, okay, would you rather have it happen to somebody else? That was one of the questions, okay, that popped into my head. And the fast answer was simply no. Maybe it happened to me because if it happened to other people, they couldn't last it. And inside my head, I was just simply, whoa, right? I can't. I just can't. I won't let this happen to other people. And in my head, what was going was maybe if it happened to other people, they they wouldn't be with us anymore. All right. And there I found a bit of a purpose. And even at the time when I was still resisting, all right, to talk about my stories, there was a nudge that says it was given to you because you could handle it, and there's light that will follow after it. And there it was, the light. But before that light, it was um, it was more of me contemplating suicide, right? At the bottomest part of the pit. I described it in the book as I think, it's not just the bottomest part of the pit. It's not even that bottom. I think it's more than the bottom. Talagang ilalim na ilalim. And I was contemplating on suicide. I was sitting on my bed, I remember, right? And I could just easily go to the terrace of my unit before, these things are going on inside my head. But then I pictured my funeral. And in my funeral, um, my mom was there, my dad was there, my siblings were there, of course. I was just visualizing it. I was just imagining it. So what now if you kill yourself? Okay, what would happen in your funeral? Now, just to put things in context, in a way, I blamed my parents for it and even my siblings because I was the youngest back then, right? I was the youngest back then. And as a youngest, it felt like now that I'm an adult, I was rationalizing, right? That if I were the youngest at that time, shouldn't they be taking care of me? Shouldn't they be looking after me to make sure that no forms of abuse could happen to me or that other people wouldn't hurt me? That was the thing that's going on inside my head. And I did not know I was carrying that for a long time. I did not know that I was actually blaming them, blaming my parents, my family, the adults around me at that time when I was growing up. And in a snap moment, when I transported myself to the future with me lying in the coffin, all I could hear are the cries of my parents. My mom was crying, my dad was crying, my siblings, who were all men, by the way, in the family, aside from my mom, right? We're seven brothers now, right? And they were all crying. They were all hurt, okay? And then I told myself, no, I can't take my life if it means that I'll be hurting my parents or I'll be hurting those that I love the most, which was my family. And I just couldn't stand the thought. And so I started crying that night. No, 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 I will not do it to my mom, most especially, my mom would blame herself. My brothers would talk to each other. Okay, how come no one among us noticed it? We're seven brothers and no one knew about the things that happened to him. And so all those things were going on inside my head. And that was what prevented me from taking my own life. Looking back, it was love. Was it was love, right? I'm missing it. Okay, I'm missing it. I'm missing that ingredient of love. They loved me. Even when I was a child, they loved me. But they also had concerns of their own. They probably have their own stories as well. And you know what? Now that I'm starting to open up, I'm slowly finding out in our family that some of my brothers also suffered a bit of an abuse. And it's just raising up my level of awareness into the spectrum of what my family has experienced. And I want to pave the way in a way for them and for the many, many people to actually embrace their stories and that somehow not be imprisoned by it anymore. So comes a joyful journey. So when I was thinking of the course, okay, of this course, um, it's so hard, most especially if you do it online. It's hard to talk about the abuses, okay, the traumatic experiences of the past via Zoom. Yes, Grishela, embracing the journey via Zoom, most especially. And then we talk about these things that make us feel uncomfortable, right? We talk about these things that make us feel uncomfortable. And I told myself, no, it doesn't have to be that way, okay? Because if I have experienced it in my journey, okay, and now I know what the journey was like, again, I do not want other people to have the same kind of journey of healing as I did. I know that some parts of it are necessary, but not all the parts of it are necessary. Actually, if you could just actually just prepare people on what to anticipate in their body, in their mind, right? In their emotional body as well, in their spirituality. So they don't have to go through the whole shebang. You can actually help people to realize that there's a joyful journey to healing. And that was what's going on in my mind. And my mind was just rushing. Okay, that night when I was chatting with Karen while I was making the description, I just couldn't stop my face. Okay, okay, not light, not light. Okay, when I say not light, if the energy is not light, I dismiss it. Right? If it's heavy, I dismiss the energy and decide to follow light energy, be it in words, okay, be it in actions, okay, in many many things I do right now. I'm actually focusing on the lightness of energy, right? Because if it's not light, I don't want it, okay? And if it's something heavy, all right, if it's something heavy, I ask myself, who does it belong to, right? And if it triggers something in me and it makes me feel lighter, simply by asking that question, I simply tell, okay, and one of the tools that I've learned also now that we are on our road to becoming consciousness facilitators, Okay, then you return it to center with consciousness attached. Okay, and these tools are very, very helpful. All right. Now, and ayan, my mind, okay, if you can see my mind right now, is just ping, ping, ping. Okay, the many ideas that are going on, okay, because I'd like to be able to share to a lot of people the tools that they can enjoy without actually being stuck in the heaviness of the drama that happened to them in the past. Um, I remember Karen, okay, when she first read the story. Karen was the many first people, okay, my friends, okay, who read the story, who actually called me. Okay, I read the book. My gosh, why are you still alive? How are you still alive? Okay, are you okay? What's going on with you? Where are you now? Okay, and you know what? It felt like, wow, the story is making some impact to other people. All right. And I'm not sure. Karen, I'd like to ask you now, Karen, because you are one of the first few people I've actually passed the stories to. How was it like having read the whole book?
It was heavy. The first time I read it, it was heavy because I wasn't exposed to those things. Um, yeah, and I was shocked. I was really, really shocked with the with everything that you've shared. With the stories, you shared everything. You shared your stories of abuse, also stories of like childhood stories and happy stories. But it was really shocking. And the process of healing, kasi, when I noticed your process of healing, it's like you said, it's not a straight line, and especially at the part like remember you suffered from abuse at a certain age and then it came back to you after 10 years, and the healing from that, actually the healing from his abuse took him 20 years.
Yeah.
And it was
When
like, yeah, that was really a long journey, 20 years for June to figure out how to get through it, because June wasn't asking for help at that time. And so it was so painful because when you read a story, like I don't know if you go there, you go into the story. It was so painful to actually journey with him because you'd really see the struggle, the many times he mentioned that he'd like to kill himself at a certain point, and the abuse keeps on happening even though he was an adult, even if he was far from it already, because he hasn't let go of the energy. So it happened in some other forms, like with friendships or with relationship. But I'm so inspired that at the end of it all, you still saw the beauty of it. You still saw that there was love. You still saw that even though your heart is imperfect, it's still beautiful, and it's more beautiful because of what you've gone through. So that's really really inspiring, and that's also the reason why I want to give the course, because I was telling June, you just can't give the book, especially for those, because what it does is the book will open up your own hurts. So it's a beautiful book because it will serve as a mirror. But the reason why we're doing the course is if the hurts emerge, your own hurts emerge, then you'll have to close it. And that's why we're doing the course. Yeah. Because it's good that the hurts, otherwise, if the hurts don't arise, you won't be able to heal yourself then. Eh. So it's good that the book will do that. It will trigger some of your hurts, and then you'll able to journey with June and journey through healing as well. But it's really, really beautiful journey. And then when I finished the book, I was the one who called June the next when I'm done with the book, and I told him, June, hi, how are you? Are you still alive? Because it was like, it's really one challenge after another. I'm not sure if you're familiar with with the hero's journey of Joseph Campbell, when you like just move from like a Herculean story, or Oedipus, more of like Oedipus' story, that he just moves from one trial after another and after another. And that's like June's journey, more of like an Oedipus story. But the good thing is he was able to like rise above it, and he was able to triumph. Yeah. And it's really a beautiful story for everybody to read and be inspired. Yes. And yun nga, ang ganda that you're the one helping naman everybody with healing because you've gone through it. I mean, June took his masterals and PhD in healing with his life. So he's really the perfect person to help people with healing.
Thank you, Karen. And so, um, the question that I've kept on asking is, what if healing can actually be joyful? What if healing doesn't have to be so heavy that, as a matter of fact, healing can take place in the lightness of forms? What if healing, okay, even if it's heavy, you can actually let go of the heaviness and become lighter yourself? What if the stories that you are actually not sharing because of the shame and guilt that go with it are actually your own light, your own guiding light, are actually your own superpower? What if? Okay, what if? And these questions I've kept asking to myself, right? What if the course doesn't have to be the normal, because initially the plan for the course was actually, use a lot of psychological concepts because, I'm taking my master's now in clinical psychology, so I want to share it. And then, but the energy there is not light, so I don't want to follow it. What if healing can actually happen on a practical level of how people can actually just simply live their life, can actually just feel the fullness of life, and can just actually feel how joyful life is, even with what went in the past. Another question may be also, what if your story is not the wrongness of you? What if it's actually the strongness of you? Okay? What if your story is actually the strongness of you? What if the story that you've been keeping because of fear of judgment is actually the story that will allow you to stop judging yourself as well? And so there are so many possibilities that I have considered, that instead of making the course like a canned course, okay, for everybody, it could be actually a fun journey for people who will be a part of it. That after maybe just right after the first session, people will become lighter, and people will understand that, oops, my story is in the past and they don't necessarily define me. And if I have attached myself to the story, now I can choose to let go of those stories and maybe choose a different story for myself. Choose the story that I want for myself and create a world that I really want for myself. What if the story, right? What if this traumatic experiences you had in the past, or what if these uncomfortable and awkward what you call it, energy that goes up is not wrong really, and they're just a part of the process? What if in the process, actually, you know that even if you are undergoing those things, you can actually be joyful? I love the sound of that, joyful, because I remember my therapist told me in the past, you know what you need, June? Joy. In the past, no, in the past, and now I'm just embracing the joyfulness in the process, in this process. And I think the invitation is, it's possible. Healing is possible. It could be messy, it could be not, right? But it's possible. It's actually a joyful journey. It has to be a joyful journey, because I don't think, okay, that God, the supreme being who created all of us, would want to put us in suffering. What if what's happened to you is merely, I know that it might, trigger something inside you. What if the stories that happened to you in the past were merely a play? right? What if the pain that's caused by these are actually not wrong, but the pain is actually a birthplace for your strength? I'm not sure, okay? I'm not sure what's going on in your head right now, but I'm pretty sure that as I'm asking these questions, a part of your consciousness is being accessed, and a part of your thinking is somehow being altered in a sense that, wow, okay, there are just a lot of possibilities that we could consider here, that there are just a lot of things, okay, that's possible for me to be able to choose healing for myself. um, a few, okay, I think years back, I couldn't say this, but I am grateful for the stories that I am now able to share. I never thought I would be able to actually say it. Because who would be grateful, seriously, if you've been a victim of abuse? Who would be? How hard it is to say that you're grateful for the abuses that you have experienced in the past. Not a lot of people, but now, with all lightness and all ease and all glory, it's just there's so much gratitude, and I want to be able to share this to people because right now the space that I'm in is no longer this dramatic blaming person who's very angry at life. It's a space of gratitude, it's a space of love and peace, and I'd like people to experience it because if this is life, then I want to have more of it. And if this is the life that I can create for myself, I'd like to teach people to create it for themselves because there's more to life than just the stories that you created in your own head, and that you can actually get through it. Okay, you can actually change your own narrative, and you can actually change the way you think about it. So with that, all right, if you feel you're ready to experience what, or if you feel you want to experience the space where I'm in, the space of gratitude, space of love, and space of peace, we are inviting you. Okay, please join us in the course. Okay, please join us in the course, and realize the fullness of life in you. Realize the joyful nature that you are. Okay, because what if joyfulness is actually your nature, right? What is if it's the true you? What if joyfulness is actually the way you're meant to be? Okay, what if healing is just a part of the things that you'll have to go through so you can finally experience how beautiful life is? And it is beautiful. And I hope that with this course, when you graduate talaga eh, no? Okay, when you get out of the course, you'll tell yourself, who am I kidding? Who have I been kidding all along? How come no one showed me that this is possible? All right. So allow me to pave the way for everybody and contemplate on those questions, right? Contemplate on the questions that I've asked you. And so now we are offering, or we are opening the the table for questions. Karen?